Have you ever said or heard anybody say that the Bible is not true? They'll say things like, oh, it's unreliable. If that's the case, give me about 10 minutes. Let me change your mind on that. What I'm going to do on this video, and I understand I'm going to have less than 10 minutes to do what could easily take an hour, is I want to prove to you that the Bible is reliable in its basics. That is, in the subjects that it covers, it gets every single one of them right with no error, no guesswork. Now, obviously, to push that further, I'm also saying that it's true. But let me take you through some subjects and you'll see. We're going to cover many different scientific categories, but what I want you to keep in mind is that the Bible itself, the span of which it was written, we can date it clear back to about 1450 BC up until about 96 AD, depending on what side of the argument you stand on as far as when John the Apostle wrote his three epistles, the Gospel of John and Revelation. For some of them, I am going to be providing screenshots. Some I won't because they're just manifestly obvious. Ready? The Bible is true when it speaks archaeologically. That is the study and the uncovering of ancient human history through like materials and so forth. One great example, Noah's Ark. Noah and God basically parked it in the mountains of Ararat. And you read about that in Genesis chapter 8. We have located the following images from photography where clearly, and this is the Turkish mountains, basically the site of where mountains of Ararat were. What does that imprint look like to you? We've also uncovered so many other things. Every time someone turns a spade over there in Palestine, we find something. We have found armor that looks like it belonged to the Gathites. They were way too big for the average person. Also what looked like their dwelling places, and on that one goes. The Bible gets every historical fact it speaks of accurately. All the wars, all the rulers, all the kings it speaks of. And we can even tell which pharaoh was in power during Moses' time. Luke the historian is one of the single most well-respected and well-known historians of time past. Yes, we're talking about Luke, who wrote the Gospel of Luke. He got every single title, every single person that he interacted with or wrote about correct when he wrote the Gospel of Luke and when he wrote Acts. He got them right even during the time when they were changing. The Bible is true anthropologically speaking. Anthropology is the study of humans and how cultures lived and how they operated in time past. And you can go through the Old Testament and you can read about so many cultures and so many ways of life that have really been confirmed through all sorts of other sources outside of the Bible. The Bible is right religiously. Every time it speaks of a religion, whether it's Christianity or any other religion period, it gets it right. There's many examples that you'll find. Deuteronomy chapter 4 talks about astrology. Exodus chapter 12 talks about the gods of Egypt, the Egyptian pantheon, and in so many other places throughout the Bible. The Bible covers other old ancient Babylonian, old Canaanite religions as well. You even read about that god Baal, which is a very common god. What's even better about it is not only does it mention him, but it even gets exactly right what the people who followed those religions during that time got. And if you doubt that, go to 1 Kings chapter 18 and read basically the battle between God and Baal, which he failed. And on it goes. And guess what? It gets them all right. You noticing a trend yet? The Bible talks about meteorology, that is the study of what happens in our atmosphere. You see the hydrological cycle discussed, precipitation. We're talking about rain, clouds, and storms. That's found in Job chapter 36. Job 37 talks about wind and air pressures and so forth. The Bible talks about what we call laws of physics, that's gravity and so forth. In Job chapter 26, we read about gravity. He hangs the earth on nothing. The Bible is correct when it speaks about things astronomically, that is outer space. It talks about the constellations, right? And Job chapter 38 talks about the Pleiades, Orion, Mazzaroth, which the Hebrew word for that also means constellations, the Great Bear with its cubs, and on it goes. Psalms 19, we have discussion about not only that the planets are in orbit, because it implied in that here, it talks about the actual sun being in orbit as well. If you read the book of Psalms 19, or the chapter Psalms 19. Now, if the sun is in orbit, that also means that the planets are in orbit. Guess what else that disproves? Geocentricity. Heliocentricity is talked about well over 2,000 years ago. The Bible is correct when it talks geographically. That is where nations and cities were located, when they were located, when they weren't located. Zoologically speaking, about all the animals, their habits, what they do, where they come from, and so forth. And really the list goes on, right? And you can check all those for yourselves. Like I said, I didn't post everything that I could have because, short TikTok video, but do the digging yourself. And so the next time you or somebody is tempted to say the Bible is not true, I think you need to drill down to what they really mean, because here's what people are really trying to say: it's not true spiritually. And I am going to posit a challenge to you. If the Bible is reliable in every other realm of life, every single scientific category that it touches on, it hits it absolutely perfect with no error, why in the world are you prone to think that if it's true on that suddenly it stops becoming true on the things that really matter, like morality, spirituality, and eternity? I think the real problem that people are faced with is when they don't want the Bible to be true, they don't want God to be true. Because if God exists, then you have to ask what the ramifications of God existing are, which means you are responsible to answer that very famous question: who do you say that Jesus Christ is? It also makes you responsible for not believing in him and the judgment that awaits you. Do your homework, take the time, study the Bible, because you owe it to yourself, eternally speaking. So thank you, and God bless you.